Good afternoon, everyone. It's Anna English here from English Like a Native, and today we have a new member to our royal family, a little baby boy, so a brand new prince to extend the royal family. So a huge congratulations to Kate and William. It's very good news indeed. I think it happened very quickly. She only went in today. And so fantastic news. Obviously, I'm pregnant as well. So I'm also super excited because I know how it feels to be expecting a child. And it's great news. Now, today I was going to do more phrasal verbs. As it's Monday, I normally do phrasal verbs on Monday because there's lots to do. But with this news, I thought I would change the session and make it all about babies. So there is actually a lot of vocabulary when talking about pregnancy, babies, children, an incredible amount. But I thought I would break it down. Today we're just going to talk about general baby vocabulary. Once a baby is born, what kind of vocabulary and phrases do we use? Now, it's actually going to be quite an interesting lesson. As I was going through it, I remember there's a few mistakes that I hear students making a lot around some of this vocabulary. So hopefully you'll find it very helpful. Lots of you already saying congratulations for my pregnancy. Thank you very much. If you didn't know already, yes, I am pregnant. I'm about 16 weeks pregnant now. And so my baby is due in October. Yes, it's all good fun. Hello to my patrons. You're joining me too. Say a quick hello to you guys. Hi, I've got Aldis, Layla and Alexandra. Do you like the way Kate Middleton dresses out? The way she dresses when she goes out? Yes, I think she dresses very well. She's a very classy lady, I think. Now, if you notice I'm still speaking a little bit funny, it's because I still have an ulcer, but it's not so bad today. But let's carry on. Let's get started even with today's lesson. As always, I've made some notes for you. So let's have a look at those, shall we? So, baby vocabulary and phrases. Now, singular, we talk about a baby. And plural, we talk about babies. This changes to an IE. But if we're doing a possessive, then we're talking about the babies. It's pronounced exactly the same way, but obviously it has a different meaning. So this is belongs to baby. So I might say, where is the baby's hat? Where is the baby's hat? Or I might say, where are the babies? Oh, wrong version. There we go. Where are the babies? So you have to make sure, even though it's exactly the same pronunciation, if you're writing it down, make sure you have the correct version spelt out. Okay, so I want you to just practice right now by writing a sentence using baby, babies, or babies, meaning the possessive. Okay, now I've written a couple of sentences here to show you how you would ask about someone, ask how many children somebody has. Typically, we would say, how many babies have you had? Actually, that's the least typical. So let me put that one down at the bottom. That's the least typical. Typically, we'd say, how many children do you have? So if you're curious, you're getting to know someone, you might say, how many children do you have? Now, if anyone here is a parent, then please let me know, how many children do you have? And I'd like you to write, I have however many children. I have 4 children. I have 2 children. Or if it's just the one, you'd say, I have 1 child. Okay, so children plural, child just the one. Okay, the other way you could ask is simply to say, do you have any children? So to be more direct, do you have any children? Because you're not sure if they have any or not. And you might actually start with that question. You might say, hey, do you have any children? And if the answer is yes, you might say, how many children do you have? I'm curious. And also you could say, how many babies have you had? Now that's interesting, isn't it? I changed the verb here. How many children do you have? How many babies have you had? Why does it change? Well, because babies, you give birth to a baby. A baby arrives into the world. It is an act, and it only happens once with each child. That baby is had. They are born. You had a baby. So when I give birth to my child, you'll say, has Anna had her baby yet? You say, yes, Anna has had her baby. And then when you see me, you might say, Anna, I heard that you had your baby. Congratulations. So we use had quite a lot when talking about the arrival of a child. So when I'm talking about babies asking the question, I've said, how many babies have you had? But like I said, this is less common as a question. You'd usually ask about children instead of babies. I'm going to just put that in brackets, less common. Okay, hopefully that's all clear so far. If anything is unclear, please ask and hopefully I'll catch your question. Let's have a look at what some of you are saying now in the chat room. So I'm just going to scroll back a little bit. Lots of you saying great news, congratulations. Hello, Anna, my daughter has your name, says Lillian. It's a lovely one. Thank you, Lillian. And thank you. That's really nice. That's really nice. I like it when people are called Anna. It makes it very easy for me to remember their name. That's very nice that you like it as a name as well. My teacher said they will call the child Albert. So you think, Jess, or according to your teacher, that William and Kate will call their baby Albert. Possibly. Very possibly. Wow, you're pregnant. Yes, some of you still just catching up. Yes, the new baby is a baby boy. Some of you asking. I don't know what sex my child will be, though. When I say sex in this context, I mean gender. I don't know the gender of my child. I have 8 children. I've 8 children. So Hussein has said, I've 8 children. Now, because that's a short sentence, Hussein, I wouldn't contract I have into I've. I've 8 children. If you're speaking and you're talking a lot, hello, my name's Anna, I've 8 children, then you might contract it because it's quicker to say. But as a short statement, we generally don't use contractions when we're making short statements. So I would say, I have 8 children. That's the more natural way. My baby's bottle is empty, says Dr. Harrison. You best fill it up. Your baby will be upset. I have 1 baby. Good. That's Hashim. Mustafa, have you got children? I don't have any children yet, but I have 1 on the way. What else do we have? Anna, are you married? I'm getting this question a lot at the moment. No, I'm not married. In our culture, there's no pressure to be married or expectation to be married before you have children. In fact, it's very expensive to get married in the UK and we can't afford to get married. So no, I'm not married. Okay. I haven't children, says Saman. I haven't children. Now, in that case, you wouldn't say I haven't children. You'd say I haven't got any children. Or better still, you'd say I don't have any children. I don't have any children. Okay? In fact, we should write this down, shouldn't we? So that we can see it written down. Let's write these out for you. So, I don't have any children. Or, I have whatever. Oh no, you say 1. I have 1 child. Or you'd say I have, and then the number, children. Oh, don't capitalize children. Stop capitalizing. I hate it when it autocorrects you and you don't want to be autocorrected. I know what I'm doing. Okay, so let's move on from this now. Oh, sorry, I'll just see what my patrons are saying because I've ignored them for a moment. Let me see what you guys are saying over here. Okay, so let's scroll back. Hello, Fabia. Hello, Vivian. Steffi, finally, you got to join the live lesson. Woohoo! Excellent. How is your baby doing today? Well, Rami, my baby is doing fine. I'm having a special appointment on Friday where I'll hear the baby's heartbeat. So I'm very excited about that. Alexander, I've got a 2-year-old son, Artem. Artem, that's lovely. Great, and that's really well written sentence. Thank you. I have 2 fur babies. What does that mean? What do you mean, fur babies? You'll have to explain that one for me, Steffi. Do you have something like baby shower in England? Is it after or prior to the child's birth? That's an interesting question. Now, it was something I wasn't going to mention during this lesson, but I will. A baby shower is a celebration that you have before a baby is born. So it's usually a get-together with the mother, sometimes with the father as well, and lots of friends and family, and we all come together. You'll have something to eat. You'll have, it's usually during the daytime. You just celebrate, you just hang out. And usually lots of presents are brought along by the guests for the baby. So it'll be, like baby clothes, little shoes, toys, little gifts for the child. And yes, that happens beforehand. So I have to organise my baby shower, which will be exciting. Okay, let's go back to what you guys were saying. So we have Rami, Anna is a palindrome. Yes, it's the same forwards as it is backwards. That's correct. One more question, Anna. In Ukraine, there's a tendency to keep cord blood. It's collected because it contains stem cells, which can be used to treat hematopoietic and genetic disorders. I may have pronounced that wrong. What about England? Do people often keep cord blood? That's more to do with the birth, and I will do a separate lesson about labour because that's a whole topic all to itself. But in answer to your question, I'm not sure. Without researching, I think potentially it might be kept by the hospitals, by the doctors, but it's nothing to do with the parents. The parents don't decide, or I don't know actually. I shouldn't make statements like that because I don't know. I'm yet to experience it. All right, my darlings, let's move on. Now, here we have something that's very important. If you take nothing else away from this lesson, listen clearly to this. I hear this mistake made all the time, and it's the difference between birth and born. Birth and born. So let's have a look at this. Born versus birth. This often causes confusion. Now, born is a verb used to describe a child entering the world. Here are some example sentences, and I would like you to write some example sentences too. The child will be born in the future on the 2nd of October. Will be born. Will be born. If it's happening right now, the baby is being born. The baby is being born as we speak. Or if it was in the past, which you'd often talk about it in the past, my son was born at the end of May. My son was born at the end of May. Now notice they always have helping verbs to join this word to help us to use this verb. You never hear my son born at the end of May, or you shouldn't hear that from a native. Okay? So you always need this helping verb when using the word born. Okay? So the word birth. Birth is a noun, meaning the time when a child comes out of its mother's body. It's often joined with the verb give. Give. For example, Anna in the future will, can you see this? Anna will give birth in October. So I've used will and give. Anna will give birth in the future in October. The Duchess of Cambridge is giving birth right now. She's giving birth right now. Obviously, that's not true. She gave birth earlier today. And that's the next sentence. She gave birth to her son this morning. She gave birth to her son this morning. So birth doesn't change with the tense, but give and gave does. Give, gave, giving. Okay. All right. So you'll notice that when using the verb born, we refer to the child. The child was born. When will the child be born? The child is being born. So we're always talking about the child when we're using the word born. That's a good way to remember it. But we use the noun birth when we talk about the mother. So the mother gives birth. When did you give birth? There are exceptions, of course. In the following example, I talk about the time when I was born, but use, hang on, I wrote this too fast, but using the word birth. So I said, my birth was simple, apparently. My birth was simple, apparently. So I obviously was there, but I don't remember. But my mum says, my birth was simple. So there you go. I'm talking about myself and using the word birth. But that's an exception. Most of the time, birth talks about the mother and born talks about the child. Okay, so I want you to practice now. This is the most important part of this lesson. I see this mistaken all the time, and I'm not surprised. I didn't know how to explain it very well because it is confusing. What's a royal baby? Royal babies have superpowers and are above the rest of the babies in the rest of the world. No, a royal baby is a baby born within the royal family. That's all. So we have a royal family, and the Prince and Duchess of Cambridge have had a baby, and that baby is automatically, by birthright, automatically a prince and a member of the royal family. He is royalty. Okay? It doesn't make him any better than anyone else in the world. We are all equal. But yes, he is just born into a privileged life within royalty. Some would say not so privileged. If you've ever watched The Crown, you'll know about the restrictions that you have if you're in the royal family. Okay, so Vivian has used the word born. I was born, just careful of the spelling there, Vivian. I was born on the 19th of July. Perfect. Good. Just be careful of the spelling, but that's good. Where is your birthplace? Is that right, Anna? Yes, that's right. We'd regularly say, where were you born? Where were you born? But you can say birthplace or place of birth. What is your place of birth? Where is your place of birth? That's an interesting thing that's just come through. So Nilam says, I was not born yesterday. This is a phrasal verb, isn't it? It's a phrase, yes. It's a phrase that we use. I wasn't born yesterday. I wasn't born yesterday. And this means I'm not stupid. Okay? So obviously, if you were born yesterday, then you're very naive. You don't know much about the world. And so it would mean that you're probably a little bit stupid, that you're easily taken advantage of. People can manipulate you and trick you very easily. I'm just going to add this to the notes. That's a really good one. So thank you for suggesting that. I wasn't born yesterday equals I am not stupid / naive. Oh, how do you spell naive? Oh, like that. Naive. Good. My spelling is terrible. All right, so that's a great example. Thank you for suggesting that. My baby birth in 1993. Do you mean the baby that you had? Yes, you must do. I mean, well, no, you might be very young. You'd say my baby. So remember, the baby talks. If you're talking about the baby, we use the word born. If you're talking about the mother, you use birth. My baby was born in 1993. I was born in 1993. I wish I was born in 1993. I was born a lot earlier than that. Shaban says, I was born in 1996. Perfect. I don't give a birth to my baby. If you're pregnant, so you don't say a birth ever. You don't say a birth. You say, I haven't. If you're pregnant, I'm pregnant now, but I haven't given birth to my baby yet. I haven't given birth to my baby yet. Okay? So I haven't given birth. Or if you're a man, obviously you don't give birth. So you say, I didn't give birth to my baby. My wife gave birth to my baby. I didn't give birth to my baby. The mother of my child gave birth to my baby. Okay? I was born in 7th of January 1986. So Mohammed, if you're stating the day you were born, then you say on. I was born on. It's on a day in a year. On a day in a year. I was born in 1983. I was born on the 7th of January. So we use the preposition on when talking about days, in when talking about years. Okay? Okay, why people say I am turning 30? Why not? I'm going to have 30. In many languages, they use the verb have, or the equivalent of have, like in Spanish it's tengo, to talk about age. I have this many years. In British English, we say that we are an age, so we talk about it as a state rather than a possession. So I don't have those years, I am those years. It's the experience. This is what I am. This is how old I am. So we say I'm turning 30 because it's a change in my state. So the numbers will change, the numbers will turn if it's a rolling set of numbers. Okay, does that make sense? But we never use have when talking about age. Okay, lots of fabulous things coming out, and we're getting slightly sidetracked. So let's get back to those notes, and I'm going to talk about something that you might hear when someone has a baby, and it's wetting the baby's head. So if you have a baby, or usually it's the men that do this, if your wife or your partner has a baby, your friends might turn around to you and say, let's wet the baby's head. Are you going to wet the baby's head? Now, this doesn't mean that you are going to actually put water or any kind of liquid onto the baby's head. It means you're going to go out and have some drinks, alcoholic normally, to celebrate the baby's birth. Going out to celebrate the baby's. And look how I'm using the possessive spelling of babies to celebrate the baby's birth. Okay? Usually involving alcohol. Okay, so that's the wetting the baby's head, is to drink beer. To drink beer to celebrate that the baby's been born. Okay? And the phrase that I mentioned a moment ago, I wasn't born yesterday, you can use that anytime. In fact, it's a really, really good phrase to remember. If someone is patronizing you or telling you something that you know, then you could be like, hey, I wasn't born yesterday. But I wouldn't use it at work. Maybe if your friends or your partner is patronizing you a little bit, you'd be like, guys, come on. I wasn't born yesterday. I know how to cook an egg. I know how to work the washing machine. Come on. Okay? So, I'm a bit confused about using as in sentences, and if you tell me about the principle of using different in a word. Brutal, that's a completely different subject, so I'm not going to answer that right now. Okay, any ideas that you have for future lessons, if you put them, once the live lesson has ended, it's best to put them into a comment on any of my videos. I read all comments as they come through, so all recent comments, it doesn't matter how old the video is, I'll see the comment. If you have ideas for lessons, please write them on an older video even, and I make notes of all the suggestions and I film what I can when I can. Okay? How much is it to get married in the UK? On average, a wedding now costs around £30,000. £30,000. That's more than double my year's income last year. Okay? So it's very, very expensive to get married in the UK. All right, so let's carry on. Let's now move on to a little bit of vocabulary. So we're going to start looking at how you refer to children. So we have newborn. A newborn is what you call a brand new baby. So if a baby is just out, it's very, very young, up to a few months old, you'd say it's a newborn. A newborn. So let's write a sentence, shall we? The newborn brought joy to his parents. The newborn brought joy to his parents. There you go. There's an example sentence. Feel free to write an example yourselves. We then have the words infant. I'm going to actually make these bold so you can see them clearly. We've got the words infant and child. Both infant and child can be used when referring to a very young child. So child is very generic. A child is technically anyone under 16 years old is technically a child. But we can refer to a baby as a child as well. And we can also refer to a very young baby as an infant. So there's lots of words to choose from. So you have baby, infant, child. Okay, so let me give you an example sentence. The infants were gathered together by a grown-up. So a grown-up is another way of referring to an adult. The infants were gathered together by a grown-up. Then we have the word toddler. Toddler. Now, toddler very specifically refers to a young child who has just learnt to walk. Some of you may already know the verb to toddle along. She was toddling, and it just means to kind of walk, but in a certain way. It's very similar to waddle. You toddle, just toddle along. And it's to walk in a very relaxed way, I guess. We only really use it when talking about children. Let me have a look at what the dictionary says, actually. Toddle. Meaning. Okay. Yeah, to move with short, unsteady steps while learning to walk. That's what the word toddle means as a verb. So we only use it with children because it generally means to walk in an unsteady way. And someone who toddles, a little child, is a toddler. A toddler. So the example sentence I'm going to give for this one is, what do we say, is two toddlers at the same time can be a lot of work. Two toddlers, in fact, let's extend that sentence. Looking after, that means to care for, looking after two toddlers at the same time can be a lot of work. It certainly can. Okay, so there you go. Looking after two toddlers at the same time can be a lot of work. Okay, let's have a look at some of your sentences. What have we got? Children can be used for any son or daughter regardless of age. Yes, that's right. So children and child and infant and newborn, all these words they're genderless. They refer to male and female. And the word children and child, like I said, actually refers to anyone under 16 years old. We're all waiting for the newborn with so much joy, says Rosa. Very good sentence. Well done. I see a toddler with no one on the street. Yeah, that's okay. Make sure I is capitalized, and I see a toddler alone would make more sense. I see a toddler alone on the street. That would be very, very clear. Okay. What a beautiful toddler baby girl. So we wouldn't use both. You just say, what a beautiful baby girl, probably in that sense. Toddler is a lot more, you wouldn't say a toddler boy or a toddler girl. You wouldn't ever say that. And it's more technical. So you might say, I have a toddler and a newborn. So if you have a 3-year-old or 2 or 3-year-old and you have a newborn baby who's maybe 4 weeks old, you might say, I've got a newborn and a toddler. Okay. I am born and bred in. Yeah, so to be born and bred means where you're brought up, where you were born and brought up. Okay, let's have a quick look at what my patrons are saying and then we'll move on. At what age do people in the UK give their kids to attend kindergarten? We'll talk about that in a moment. That's coming up later in the lesson, Alexander. Some people are against vaccines. What about you? I tend to follow the advice of the medical professionals. If they think it's good for me and good for my child, then I go with their advice. Science generally doesn't let you down. Yes, we've got, yeah, there you go. You've written it down. Baby, infant, kid, child, toddler. Good. Thank you, Steffi. In Ukraine, when a woman gives birth, we don't need lose when a woman gives birth to more than 2 babies, she is given the status, so she is given the status of being a mother of many children, and she gets special bonuses from the government. Wow. Is it the same in England? No, it's not. You get benefits. If you are in a low-income family, you can claim benefits for your children, but it's not very much, and they're quite difficult to get. Are kindergartens and maternity hospitals private or not in the UK? You have a mix of both. You have some private, some public. Can be a lot of work, can be a handful. Yes, that's a really great phrase. Children can be a handful. If you are a handful, and we normally say this when talking about children, if you're a handful, it means you're just hard work. So a child keeps you very busy, and if a child is very energetic and wants to explore all the time, then it's always having tantrums. You could say, he's a handful. I'm exhausted. He's a handful. Okay, but we can also use handful to talk about adults. If adults if they're a hard work, if it's exhausting being with a person, you could say they're a handful. Okay, right, let's move on. Oh, Tom, you've got to go. Thank you for joining us. Okay, we're going to move on. And next we're talking about preschool age is the next little phrase. If I talk about preschool or say that someone is preschool age, then I mean the time before a child is old enough for school. So, for example, I have a children's channel called Bella and Beans, and we aim the channel at preschool. So it's aimed at preschool kids. So I mean children who haven't yet gone to school yet, who are learning to speak, who are learning to do their alphabet, their numbers, all that kind of thing. So I'm aimed primarily, number one focus is preschool age. Okay. Right, let's look now at the kind of items that you would need, that I'm going to need to buy when you have a baby. And there's a lot of differences here between American English and British English. So first of all, we have a dummy. A dummy. Now the dummy goes into a child's mouth for comfort. They suck on a dummy. Yeah? They suck on a dummy. Now, in America, this is a pacifier. A pacifier, but we do not use that word here. So, can you clean that dummy and put it in the baby's possessive version mouth. Question mark. Can you clean that dummy and put it in the baby's mouth? There you go. Okay, nice and easy. Next we have the name for a chair on wheels. And the chair on wheels, so you can take your baby out and push it around. We generally call it a pram. A pram or a buggy. A pram or a buggy. Sometimes it's called a stroller. Okay. I think in America, at some point it's been called a baby carriage. And I think it has another word as well that I can't think of off the top of my head. But yes, we tend to say pram or buggy. But I have also noticed a lot now we're using stroller. Okay. So also, yes, as one of you has pointed out, the word dummy can also mean a dumb person. So if you're calling someone a dummy, then you're meaning someone who's not very clever, someone who's a bit silly, a bit stupid. But a dummy generally refers, when you're talking about babies, a dummy refers to the pacifier, or what you stick in their mouth to keep them happy, to keep them quiet. So I might say to you, can you please push the pram? Oh dear, the pram. Can you please push the pram? Oh, I'm asking you lots of questions in these examples, aren't I? Next we have sling. Now a sling is a wrap that holds the child close to your body. Now I really do plan to get a sling. It's like a big scarf. You put the baby on your chest and you put the sling around you. You wrap it all around and it holds the baby secure. You tie up the sling and it holds the baby securely to your chest so that you've got free hands to walk around and do what you need to do the shopping or climb a mountain, whatever you're doing, with the baby close to your chest. And normally the baby will just sleep, or you might face the baby outwards so the baby can see what's going on in the world and keep quiet and happy. Okay, so that's 3 that we've covered: dummy, pram, and sling. Let's see what you guys are saying. When a newborn becomes an infant, how to use toddler here. 3 words in the same sentence. If you're asking the question, when does a newborn become an infant? And how could you use toddler? I'm not sure if you would add another word in there. But it's just different ways. Toddler is very specific to the time when a child has just learnt to walk. So you're only a toddler for a short space of time. You're a newborn in your first year of life, maybe the first 6 months of life. You're a toddler once you've learnt to walk. So you're a toddler when you're probably around 1 or 2 years old. And then after that, you're a child. But all that time, you're an infant. All that time you're a child. So it's just variation in vocabulary. Aldous, if weddings in the UK are, weddings, plural, are, if weddings in the UK are too expensive, and there shouldn't be a full stop there because you haven't completed the sentence. If, what are you asking? If weddings in the UK are too expensive, you can make weddings in other countries. So you have a wedding, you don't make a wedding. If weddings in the UK are too expensive, you can have a wedding in another country. For example, my uncle got married in Sweden, or my uncle's wedding was in Sweden. Yes, it's possible, but then the problem is that I'll talk about weddings in another lesson, but in the UK, you're expected to pay for all your guests. So you pay for their food, and if they're staying with you, if you're a long way from everyone's home, you're expected to put them up in a hotel. You have to hire the venue. And so if you go abroad for a wedding, you're having to pay for your closest guests, your family and your close friends to fly, and then you have to put them up in a hotel for at least a week, I would imagine, or at least a 4-day long weekend. And so getting married abroad would actually be quite expensive as well. So it's difficult. It's just the customs here are different, I guess. Okay, so talking about the vocabulary we've just used, Alexander says, what about a soother? A soother. What exactly are you referring to? There are many things you could say are a soother. Which vocabulary are you referring to there? Rami, do you also buy kiddie pools? We use paddling pools instead of kiddie pools. I don't understand whether people in the UK give vaccines or not. Yes, we do. We do offer vaccines for our children. I just tried to use 3 words in the same sentence just as a challenge. Oh, I see. Okay. What support does the government provide for a newborn baby in the UK? Well, I still need to find this out, but if you have a job, if you have a normal job, then you, as a mother, you are given something like 6 or 7 weeks off full pay. And then after that, you can take more time off, half pay, or at a lower rate of pay. So the mother will get a good amount of time off and still have an income. The father, the basic rights for a father is 2 weeks off, parental leaves. They get 2 weeks off. And in some companies, they will allow you to do shared parental leave. So the father can take some more time off at half pay. But at the same time, the mother would have to go back to work part-time as well. So they share their responsibilities at home. In my case, because I don't have a job, I am self-employed. Unfortunately, that means I'm in a very bad position. It means that unless I work, I won't get much help. I will get a little bit, I might be entitled to a little bit of support from the government, but not much at all. So yes, I will continue to work. I have to continue to work, and I'll just have to try and figure out what I do with the baby at the time. But yes, so there you go. Hope that answers your question. Okay, so let's go back to those words. So we've looked at dummy, pram, and sling. Next we have wipes. Wipes are very simple. They are like a little material tissue. You buy packs of baby wipes. Some people just have baby wipes just for cleaning stuff up, just for cleaning up their face or wiping up things that have spilt on the side. Wipes. Something we'll all know, which is a nappy. You have to change the baby's nappy. It's an absorbent material to wrap around your child's bottom to catch urine and feces. Nobody really likes changing nappies. I don't like changing nappies. In America, these are called diapers. Diapers, which is a very different word. Let me put that into italics. Okay, but we do not use diapers in Britain at all. We don't say the word diaper. Next, we will need a changing mat, and that is basically just a padded mat that's wipeable, so you can wipe off mess easily, and it's for changing the baby's nappy. So you put the baby on the changing mat to change its nappy. After that, we have a playpen, and this is something I'm going to buy for my baby. It's a portable enclosure for a child to safely play in. So it's soft. They're usually around this high, and they've got net all around them. And they're colourful, and you can put some toys in there. And it's just when the baby is crawling around, you can put the baby in the pen for a moment if you have to, say you do the washing up and you don't want to leave the baby unattended to crawl around and get itself into trouble. So you put the baby in a playpen to keep it safe. So it's a little enclosed area for the baby. So probably when I'm doing a live lesson, we'll have the baby in a playpen at the back here, just going, hello. Okay, next on the list we have the word thermometer. Thermometer. Okay, make sure you're pronouncing that correctly. Thermometer. Okay, so I seem to have lost you for a moment. I don't know how far we got, but I'm back. I don't know what happened there. Okay, hopefully everything is okay and you're all catching me. Yeah, I don't know what happened there. Okay, so can you all hear me? Can you all see me? Is everything all right? It says it's streaming, so I'm just going to carry on. Okay, let me just check. Can you still hear me? Okay, great. All right, so fabulous. All right. Okay, that's really thrown me. Play. Oh gosh, I don't know what's going on. Okay, I'm just going to assume that everything's fine. All right, so we have the thermometer and it measures temperature, and you need one with a baby to make sure the baby is healthy. Okay, you don't want to. If you don't have a thermometer in the house and the baby has a high temperature, it's hard to tell if the baby is sick or not, or just needs cooling down. Okay, it's all right. Okay, so great. Sorry. All right, let's carry on. So the next one is the word crib or cot. We tend to say cot. Sometimes I hear crib, but this is the baby's bed where the baby sleeps, and usually it has raised sides. So it's got raised sides, like with railings in, so the baby can see through and you can see in, but the baby can't get out and can't roll out of the bed. Okay, so that's a cot. Have you got a cot? Does your baby have a cot? Then we have a bouncer, and I love these. They're little reclining chairs which your baby lies in, and they bounce. So you can just put your foot on it and bounce the baby, and the baby's just lying there going, I like this. It keeps the baby soothed and happy. You also have a bouncer that goes in a door frame, and it hangs down. The baby sits in it, and it can kick its legs and bounce around in the door frame. Now, I don't know about you, but I think these look like the best fun, and I can't wait until they create a bouncer for adults. So you can just have a giant bouncer, maybe in the back garden, and you just go and sit and bounce around. That would be amazing. So there we go. We've got a cot and a bouncer. Let me bring the notes back up for you so you can see them. Then we have a Moses basket. Now I'm about to pick one of these up at the end of the month. A Moses basket is a portable cot. It's a small cot, and it's made out of wicker. It's a little wicker cot, and it's weaved. It's beautiful. They're very typical traditional cots that you would have. Your baby's only in them when they're very small, but they're just very easy to carry around. Okay, you'll also need a car seat, or you might call it a child seat, but you need a car seat for the baby. They're specially fitted in the UK. All cars have special places where you can hook a baby seat in. Well, I say all cars, all new cars have them, like little ISA bars, I think they're called, or ISA bars. I'm not sure what they're called actually, something that sounds like that. But you hook the child seat in, and in some older cars, you have to strap the seat in with the seat belt. Then we have a muslin, and a muslin is a little square cloth. So it's a little piece of cloth that you use. It's like about that big, and it's very soft. And you just use it to wipe the baby's face if the baby dribbles or the baby's sick. It doesn't attach to the baby. It's different to a bib. It's not a bib. It's just a cloth, a loose cloth. You might put it on your shoulder when you're burping the baby. Oh, there's a word. To burp the baby, to make the baby belch when it's eaten so it doesn't throw up. Now, muslin, I thought it was Muslim with an M on the end. And then I saw it written down. I was like, oh, it's different. So don't make that mistake that I made. Oh, bless. Horatio, thank you so much. You've just dropped a nice super chat there. Thank you so much for your donation. You said, my niece has just given birth. Congratulations. It was a girl, and she is called, so you'll say she is, or she will be called Daniela. Congratulations. That's really great news. And welcome to the world, Daniela. How amazing. Horatio, if you want to drop me an email, I'm happy to send you a copy of these notes as a way of saying thank you so that you can remember all of this vocabulary. My email's at the bottom of the description. Okay, so yes, a muslin is like a burp cloth, I guess, but it's not just used for burping, but there you go. I guess that's what you can think of it as. Let's get to the bottom of this little section. We also have a sleep suit, and that's a special little suit that the child wears to sleep in. Quite self-explanatory. And you'll definitely need a baby monitor. A baby monitor is like a little radio that sits in like a walkie-talkie. It sits in the baby's room, and you have one that goes into whatever room you're in, maybe the lounge or the kitchen. And it means you can hear the child. You can hear the baby. So if the baby wakes up and starts to cry, you can hear it. And so it's very helpful to have a baby monitor. Now, before I move on to the next few little sections, let's have a look at what my patrons are saying. Hello, patrons. Oh, lots and lots here. Gosh. How long is the maternity leave in the UK? I'm not 100% sure, but I think it's around 6 months, maybe. Rami, I know why they are paying or providing benefits in Slavic countries, because they want to increase their population. It's very popular in Russia. Okay. It will be a big fight who's going to change the diaper. The nappy. So remember, in British English, we say nappy, not diaper. And I will change the nappy, probably. I don't mind. I know nappies are popular to hire. What? What about people who help mothers to cook? Oh, nannies. Sorry, I thought you said nappies. I'm like, why would you hire a nappy? You wouldn't want to give a dirty nappy back. Nannies are popular to hire, but what about people who help mothers to cook and clean the house? Do people often hire them? Alexander, I guess it depends on how much income people have. If you have a good income and you can afford a cleaner or someone to cook and help out, then you would. But if you don't have much money, then you have to just do it all yourself. How much time do pregnant mothers stay at home before they give birth to a child? In the Ukraine, it is 7 months prior to giving birth. Most people will give up work a month before giving birth, so about 4 weeks before the due date. I will work all the way until the baby's born, but that's because I'm self-employed. And that's when I lost you. Do you use Celsius or Fahrenheit when taking the temperature of a baby? Celsius, I think. Celsius. Ukrainian doctors, with an S on the end, please, Alexander, really insist on breastfeeding. It's kind of a propaganda in a positive sense. Do doctors and medias promote breastfeeding in the UK? We'll come on to that in a minute. We have 6 or 7 Muslins, baby liners, yes. Do you also need a special room for the baby in England? It's not required in India. No, you don't need to have one, but if you have the space, then some people will have a special room for the baby. It's called the nursery. You put the baby in the nursery, you have the nursery in the house. If maternity leave is 6 months only, who sits with the baby when the mother goes back to work? A lot of mothers, if the household can afford it, will stay at home full time until the baby goes into school. If they can't afford it, the mother will go back to work and they'll put their child into daycare. But we'll talk about that again in a minute. Yes, good. Okay, let's go back to those notes. Right, so let's look at clothing quickly. Most babies will wear some form of all-in-one or a onesie. And this covers the arms, legs and body. You know what I'm talking about. Most recently, in the last few years, onesies have become popular with adults again. We wear them to be comfortable, or we have onesies that are like themed like an animal. So when you wear them, you look like a dog or a cat or a unicorn or a parrot or something. But mostly babies wear onesies. You put their arms and legs in, and they button up the front. Okay, it keeps them warm. It keeps all their limbs nice and covered and warm. Babies also wear gloves, but they don't have ones where their fingers are individual. They wear mittens, where they only have a hand and a thumb. And they wear mittens because they tend to scratch themselves when they're tiny. They scratch a lot. So we put them in mittens so they don't scratch their faces and things. And on their feet, obviously they might wear socks, but we also have little shoes for babies, and those shoes are called booties. Booties. These are the words that are different for baby clothes as opposed to adult clothes. Obviously, babies can wear jeans, t-shirts, shirts, dresses, skirts, all the normal clothes, All the normal closed vocabulary you would have for an adult is the same for a baby, apart from these items. These are more specific to a baby. Okay? All right, let me have a quick look what you guys are saying in the YouTube chat room. Gosh, I feel like I've been talking for hours. I've been talking for nearly an hour. Goodness me. Wow, this is a much longer lesson than I expected it to be. Okay, so hi guys, those of you who are just joining me now. Is abortion forbidden in the UK? No, it's not. Abortion is, you can have an abortion up to a certain point in your pregnancy. You have to speak to the doctor about it. They have to kind of talk about the reasons why you want it, but you can have an abortion up to a certain point. So it's not forbidden in the UK, no. Alina, thank you so much. Alina has just sent a £5 super chat. Thank you so much. That's very kind of you. It's really very much appreciated. And like I said to Horatio, if you'd like a copy of these notes as my way of saying thank you, please send me an email and I'll send them to you for your super chat. Thank you. Okay, so let's jump back into the vocabulary. There's not lots more. We have feeding. So breastfeeding. So we talk about breastfeeding. So breastfeeding obviously is where the mother feeds the child by her breast. So it's a very natural way of feeding a baby. So if you breastfeed in the UK, breastfeeding is acceptable. It's not forced. You're not expected to breastfeed, but it's encouraged because it's obviously better for the baby to breastfeed in the first instance. So it's encouraged, but it's not expected and it's not forced. And if a mother struggles with breastfeeding, there's no negative, no one looks at her in a negative way. It's absolutely fine to not breastfeed. Okay, so feeding the baby via the breast. The thing is, though, breastfeeding in public is some people. There's a big fight about it at the moment. People are trying to change people's view. Some people are very much against breastfeeding in public. They think it's something you should only do in private. And they can be quite nasty to women that they see breastfeeding in public. I've seen some awful things said to women who are breastfeeding in public. I think that everyone should be allowed to breastfeed wherever the baby needs to be fed. If it's in public, then so be it. I don't think it's a problem at all. But, you know, it takes a little while to change people's opinions. So if you are breastfeeding, you're going to need a nursing bra. It allows you to reveal the breast very easily. So it's a special bra for breastfeeding. And then also because a woman, when they are breastfeeding, the milk is produced sometimes at inappropriate times, they normally wear breast pads and it collects any milk that comes out when the baby's not feeding, because you don't want to wear a nice blouse or a t-shirt and then suddenly you have milk patches on the front of your shirt. It would be very embarrassing. Pads to collect leaking milk from the breast. So it just protects the woman from embarrassment, really, and from wetting through her clothes. Now, the term to express milk is the action of pushing the milk out. So sometimes the breasts become very enlarged, engorged. They become very fat with milk and it can be painful. And sometimes you need to push the milk out. You need to pump out the milk for the baby because maybe you have to go out somewhere without the baby and you need to feed the baby with a bottle, or whoever is caring for the baby needs to feed the baby with a bottle. And so you have to get the milk out. And we say to express the milk. You express the milk, okay? So you use a breast pump, or you can manually, I don't know how you do it, squeeze, I guess, and the milk comes out and into some form of collecting device. I don't know yet. But the process of pumping out milk to pump out breast milk, from the breast is to express milk. I'll take you back to the notes now so you can see what I'm writing here. And a breast pump is a tool to help express milk from the breast. Okay, if you are a mother, did you breastfeed? And at what point did you stop breastfeeding? I know some women breastfeed for years and years. Some women only do it for a few weeks, some for a few months. The bottle, I don't think I need to tell you what a bottle is. I think that's quite obvious. A baby's bottle. Just make these bold so you can see these clearly. Okay, and then we have the teat. Now the teat is the top of the bottle. Oh no, what have I done? What are you doing? There we go. The top of the bottle. It's what the baby sucks on. That the baby sucks. The top of the bottle that the baby sucks. Now, if you are bottle feeding, you are going to need to get a bottle brush. And this is a special brush for cleaning. A brush for cleaning the bottle. So you can get really far down inside and give the bottle a good scrub. Neve, is it Neve? Neve said the teat is also known as the nipple. Yes, so the nipple of the bottle. Normally we say teat on a bottle in the UK, I believe. But there you go. Neve actually breastfed for 1 to 2 years for each of your children. Well done. Well done. I hope that I will be able to breastfeed, but it really depends how it goes. Some people struggle, some people don't. Okay, so pureed food is food. It's kind of mashed up to a liquid form so that it's easy for the baby to eat. Okay, thank you. It is Neve. Yes, wonderful. Then we'll also talk about soft foods. The baby is eating soft foods now. So as the baby moves from milk, it'll go into soft foods. And I mean, I don't need to explain that. That's obvious what it is. But then we'll talk about it moving on to solids. I'll say, is your child eating solids yet? So that's hard food is what I mean. So has it moved from liquid-based food into eating biscuits or actually eating an apple? Or a strawberry perhaps. This wouldn't be known as a solid. Now, while the child is eating, you're going to want to put a bib on the child because it's going to make a mess. It's going to dribble. It might be sick. It'll probably be sick at some point. And you don't want that to go on their lovely clothes. So you wear a bib. You put a bib on the child. So it's like a clothing protector. A piece of cloth that goes around the baby's neck to protect the baby's wrong one. Baby's clothes from dribble, sick, etc. Food, etc. Okay. And when the baby is sitting up and holding its head up well enough on its own, you can then put the baby in a high chair. And the high chair is the chair that it lifts it up to the table height. So you can sit it at the table, but it also keeps it in a chair. A chair for babies. A chair for baby, which is high and hard to get out of. Ha ha ha. Can we call the bib an apron, says Rami. No, a bib and an apron are different. They're different lengths. They're attached differently. It's different. You do sometimes have apron style bibs, ones that go over the arms, are full sleeved and go all the way down the front. I don't know if we call them aprons, but if it's for a child, if it's for a baby, then it will be called a bib. Okay. Okay, Aldous has to go to work. Bye, Aldous. Okay, I'll come back to some of these in a minute. Let's see how you guys are getting on. I haven't given... Can you hear me now? Oh, the beauty of live broadcasting. It's so stressful. Anyway, I'm not allowed to get stressed, so we're not going to get stressed. Okay, so it's fine. The audio is back. I can see it's back. So you're going to catch up. Okay. All right. So I'm going to carry on. You're going to take a few minutes to catch up. All good. I hope. Yes. All right. Okay. So now we're going to talk about care providers. Care providers. So we've been asked a few times about kindergarten. What age do kids go to kindergarten? We do not use kindergarten. We don't use kindergarten. Kindergarten is, well, technically it's a German word, isn't it? Kindergarten. And it's adopted by the Americans. The Americans use it. We don't use it. We use these phrases instead. Let me get them up for you. And hopefully the sound won't go off again or things won't go wrong. We have words like creche, day centre. We have words like nursery. These are the main kind of providers, like schools, little baby schools that you'd hear of. Now, a creche and a day centre are pretty much the same thing. It's supervised play especially for babies and young toddlers. So until your child is old enough to go to school, which is around 4 years old, I think your child officially starts in the school system at 4. Up until that point, you can put them into creche or day centre. Now, in my gym, for example, where I go and do my exercise and I work out and I flex my muscles, we have a creche on the ground floor. So it's just a play area. It's all fenced in and it's all soft and there's lots of toys. And at certain times of the day, there are supervisors that are qualified to look after children, and you can pay to put your child in the play area and to be looked after for an hour while you go and do some exercise or go for a swim. So that is a creche. Now, there is also something similar, but it's normally a specific place called daycare. So it'll be maybe like a little building, maybe it'll be a church. Sometimes you have daycare in churches, or a town hall, or a little house that's been converted. And it's all soft and protected, and there's lots of toys, and there will be lots of adults there who are qualified to look after young children and babies. And you can pay a lot of money, it's very expensive, to put your child into daycare for a morning, for an afternoon, for a whole day. You can do it every day for 5 days. So if you wanted to go back to work, you could pay for daycare for your child. I kind of think that what's the point in having a baby if you're not going to be there to see it grow up? If you're going to be completely absent, I don't know. I don't know if I would be comfortable doing that, but daycare is definitely something I'll consider on a part-time basis, maybe for 1 day a week, so I can make some videos. So we'll see. But yes, creche and daycare, pretty much the same thing. And then you also have nursery, which is very similar. And nursery tends to be for toddlers from 18 months to 2 years upwards. So when they get to around 2, up to 4, they can go to nursery. And it's like preschool. It's like they're going to school and they have playtime and organised activities. But it's not quite school, and they don't have to do all the days in the week. They don't have to go. That's the thing. They could stay at home until they're 4, and then they have to go to school. They have no choice. They must, by law, go to school at 4 years old. Okay, so those are the care options. And thank you so much. I've just had another super chat come in. That's in Polish zloty. Is that how you say it? Thank you very much. That's very kind of you. I never know how to pronounce your name. I'm sure you've told me before, but my memory is terrible. Do forgive me. But thank you so much for your kind donation. It's always very much appreciated. Okay, so besides creche, daycare and nursery, you could actually just hire an individual to look after your child. And the options you have are a nanny, a babysitter, or a childminder. Now, a nanny will care for a child in the child's home. So if I want someone to come here to look after my baby, I would hire a nanny. Then we have a babysitter. A babysitter can be anyone. It could be an 18-year-old girl who's just looking for a bit of extra cash. And a babysitter tends to be someone you only hire for a short time. Like maybe on a Friday night, my friend is having a birthday party and I want to go and have a meal with her, but my partner wants to come too. So we might hire a babysitter to come and look after the baby for 3 hours while we pop out for dinner. And they're not necessarily qualified either. It might just be someone you know and you can trust. And then there's a childminder. A childminder, like a nanny, is someone who's official. They should have qualifications. And they look after a child, but they do it in their own home. So maybe they look after 3 different children, but the children go to their house and they stay there while they're in their care, and then they're picked up afterwards. Okay? Okay, hopefully that's clear. We are getting to the end. I know this seems like a very long lesson. There's literally 4 more things that I'm going to talk to you about. 4 more pieces of vocabulary, and then we're done. And my voice is getting deeper and deeper the more I talk. Oh gosh, I can talk myself hoarse. If you're hoarse, it means you're all gravelly. What are the homeschooling laws in the UK? I homeschooled each of my kids for their first year of schooling, then sent them to public school. You can homeschool. I don't know what the law is, but I know people do homeschool. I wonder, I guess they have to take certain exams at the same time as other children their age. Lou said, would it be wrong to say a child is at the nanny's? I never heard of childminder. I guess if the nanny looks after the children in the house, then they wouldn't be at the nanny's. They're at home. You say the children are at home with the nanny. But if they're with the childminder, then they're at the childminder's house. So you'd say the kids are at the childminder's. You could say that. Okay, fabulous. So, Alexander, let's have a look at what my patrons are saying here, and then I'll do the last 4 pieces of vocabulary. Okay, yeah, so I lost you for a bit. Let's have a look. All right, so what is statutory maternity? So that's what you're entitled to no matter what, I think. That's what the government says you are entitled to. That's your right. Okay? Are you asking how much it is? Or you're just asking what it means? Rami says, when I was in kindergarten, with no S on the end. When I was in kindergarten at school, my mum, remember it's spelt with a U if it's British English, would lock my sister my sister baby, I think you mean the other way around, my baby sister, if you mean your little sister, she would lock my baby sister in the house and then she visits me at school to bring me back home. No babysitters at that time. She visited me or she came to get me. Okay, so what you'd say is, when I was in kindergarten, my mum would lock my baby sister in the house and then she'd come to school to pick me up. We didn't have babysitters at that time. Yes, I mean, parenting in the old days was very different to how it is now. What my mum used to do as a parent was fine for me, but these days some things would be unacceptable. So I won't do some things with my children because times are different. And childcare is different in different countries as well. A few questions coming through on the YouTube chat room. Nanny is not a grandma, says Evelyn. Yes, so you can call the grandmother Nana or Nanny. It depends. Every grandmother has their own preference about what they want to be called. I know some people are called Nana, Nanny, Granny, Grandma. There's probably some other versions as well. But each grandma will have their Nan is one. Some people just like to be called Nan. Or, yeah, Nanny, Nana, Nan. It depends on your preference, what you want to be called. Okay, so here we go. Let's do the last few bits of vocabulary. Oh, I'm going to lose my voice. A mobile. This is a type of toy. Now, a mobile is a decorative structure that is suspended so as to turn freely in the air. That's the technical definition. But a mobile basically sits on top of the cot. So it sits above the cot and it turns around and it plays music and the baby can look up and be like, ah, and it keeps them occupied while they're in the cot. So that's a mobile. And then we have a rattle, is a very common children's toy. A rattle is a noisy shaker, a shaker. And then you have blocks. So you could call them building blocks or toy blocks. Blocks are just cubes, squares. They might be plastic, they might be wooden, but you build them up and you can knock them down. So sometimes we also have blocks like Lego blocks. Lego is a very popular toy around the world. And the final one, most babies will have some form of stuffed animal, but we call them teddy bears. Teddy bears, or just simply a teddy. I bought the baby a teddy, and they tend to love to cuddle their teddy bears, especially to fall asleep with. Yes. Now, Sarah says mobile has two meanings, ? Yes, so obviously you've got your mobile phone, but a mobile is also something that is suspended and turns in the air. That is a mobile. You can also say that I am mobile. It means I can move around. And that's what it all means, really, to be able to move, to be free to move around. A mobile phone just means that it's not a wired phone. It's not connected to the wall. We're free to roam with a mobile phone. You see? Okay, so do you have any questions or anything you need me to clarify before I say goodbye? I will just jump over to what my patrons have asked me. We have Alexander. The same is in the UK. Nobody forces you to breastfeed, but the doctors recommend mothers do it. Do the UK doctors recommend mothers breastfeed or not? Yes, they do. But they don't force you, but they recommend it, especially in the first few weeks. It's important initially that they get those first few feeds because that's what contains all the antibodies to help them to be fighting fit and healthy. If mother goes back to work after 6 months, who's going to breastfeed their child? Well, that's an individual decision for each parent, for each family. Maybe they stop breastfeeding, or maybe she expresses her milk so her milk can be fed via a bottle with the childcare provider. So it just depends. Every situation is different. Every parent, every child is different. All right, what are you guys saying? All right, before I answer these last few questions, I just want to make sure that you have all pressed subscribe and the bell notification button so you don't miss future lessons. That you've all clicked the thumb up button. I would like you to let me know what you think William and Kate should call their baby. Do put it in the comments section below. It'll be interesting to see if any of you get it right. And I do wonder what they're going to call their baby. I will be putting out a lot of videos in the next few weeks. I've got a lot coming up for you. Many things being recorded, a few collaborations. And I've also got another live lesson on Friday. As always, I'm trying to do a live lesson every Monday and every Friday for you. The Friday live session will be at 12 o'clock. Oh, hopefully it'll be at 12 o'clock. I do have an appointment actually in the middle of the morning. So hopefully if I'm done in time, the live lesson will go up at 12. It might be a little later. I'll have to let you know about that one, but it will be earlier than this session. Okay, so let's answer those last few questions and I'll let you go. I like your videos, Anna. Thank you a lot. We say thank you so much instead of thank you a lot. We say thanks a lot, but if you say thank you, we don't say a lot. We say thank you so much, or thank you very much, and you're welcome. Why do cards for grandma and nana separate if it's the same? They're usually put separately because if you're looking for a card for nana, because you always call your nana nana, then you want to be able to find the nana cards. And if you're looking for a card for grandma because you call your grandma grandma, then you want to be able to find the section where the cards have grandma on the card. Earlier you defined mittens, but how do you call the gloves that cover half the finger? They're called fingerless gloves. Fingerless gloves. If they only come up to here, so you have the tips of your fingers free, naked, then they're called fingerless gloves. What are you going to name your baby? We haven't decided for definite yet, and I guess we won't decide until the baby is actually born. We have some favourite names. We're still discussing it, but in 4.5 weeks, we'll find out the sex of the baby. So we'll find out the gender of our child at the end of May. So then we'll have a clearer idea, and we can start thinking about names properly when we know the gender. Is the word teddy only used for a bear-shaped? So if it's bear-shape, is it called a teddy or anything else? Not a teddy. What about any other toys made from material? No, it's not just bears, because I have lots of teddies. We call them teddies. I've got teddies. Some are dogs, some are ducks, some are unicorns perhaps, whales, dolphins. I call them all teddies. That's the generic term, teddies. We don't call them all teddy bears. We just call them teddies. Okay, any more questions? See if I can find any more coming up here. My children are named Seamus, Rhiannon and Bridget. Lovely, very nice. What is the difference between statutory maternity and maternity leave? So maternity leave refers to the time off that you have from work in order to look after your baby. And statutory, if I can spell it, statutory maternity, I think refers to your rights for pay when you have a baby. So it talks about your rights, but let me just it generally refers to pay. Every time I put it in Google, it comes up with pay. So statutory maternity pay is how much you will get when you take time off. And here it says you can be paid for up to 39 weeks. Usually the first 6 weeks you have 90% of your salary. And that's before tax, so you still get taxed on that. And then for the rest of the 33 weeks, you'll get £145 or 90% of their AWE, average weekly earnings, whichever is lower. Okay, so if you only earn a very low wage, you'll still only get 90% of your wage or £145 a week. So, it's good. If you have a job when you get pregnant, you get good benefits to go and take time out to look after your baby. But if you're like me, oh dear, never mind. What is up? Why are you looking around? I'm looking around my screen. If you don't know, I'm running this broadcast, and so I've got lots of things to look at, all your questions. So I'm trying to produce as well as perform. But anyway, I'm going to say thank you so much for joining me. That is the end of today's session. You've all been wonderful, and I'm sorry for taking up so much of your time. Thank you so much to all of my Super Chat donators today. Your generosity is very much appreciated. It really does make a difference. Thank you to my patrons as well. The notes for this session will be available to you patrons. I'll drop them in the Dropbox. You'll know where to find them. Look out for the videos that are coming later this week. Congratulations once again to Kate and Will on the birth of your new baby. I'll stick around and say a few words in the chat room following the end of this session. Have a wonderful evening. Lots of love from London. Bye.